We are brought up within the framework of a traditional perception of a career path, one that was followed even by our ancestors. What does it entail? You study for 11 years in school, then, thanks to good grades, you enter a prestigious university in the capital. After that, armed with a sought-after diploma, you land a job with a high salary. Once employed, you work diligently so that your efforts are noticed by your superiors. The management, recognizing your hard work, promotes you to the position of manager. After a series of promotions, you eventually become the head of the company. This scheme clearly illustrates the mobility of personnel within organizations without a stable hierarchical structure, which is driven by high staff turnover. Selection for positions in such organizations is primarily based on the level of competence. If you demonstrate yourself as the most competent employee, you are promoted up the career ladder. But here comes the question. How can you take the position of director if they are not planning to leave? When you start your first job, such a question usually doesn't arise. However, when you hit the career ceiling in the form of a directors unwilling to vacate their position, you haven't already settled into the organization, begin to look for ways to improve your social status. If you can't find such a way, you move on to another job. Since labor relations in the new organization are more diversified, you have the opportunity to take a managerial position, which temporarily satisfies your ambitions. But sooner or later, you hit another career ceiling in the form of a director who founded the company. And the question, what's next, becomes relevant again. In trying to solve this problem, you start switching jobs repeatedly, striving to find a loophole that will allow you to take the position of director. Finally, you come to the conclusion that you can become a director immediately by creating your own organization, bypassing the traditional career path that promised you success. But have you managed to beat this career casino? Unfortunately, no. The structure of any organization is significantly different from the perception passed down to us by our ancestors. Every structure operates according to the following scheme: the ambitious, the doomed, and the favorites. People who join an organization from the outside are ambitious ones. They are ready to climb the career ladder step by step to improve their social status. Upon reaching the middle of the pyramid, the ambitious become the doomed, because they cannot break through the glass ceiling. After all, the bosses are not planning to vacate their position, and the doomed have very few other ways to increase their salary, especially if they have spent decades building their careers. But how did the bosses who occupy the position of the favorites end up at the top of the pyramid? The favorites have been part of the pyramid from the very beginning. If they didn't create the organization themselves, they secured their position through connections with the directors, bypassing the traditional career ladder. Favorites never complete with either the ambitious or the doomed. Their selection was not based on professional qualities, but on their closeness to the organization's director. Even knowing about this system, a doomed individual's chance of becoming a favorite is practically zero, because there are few positions for favorites and many contenders, not only from among those close to director, but also from the ranks of the doomed. You might stay at the organization as its sole remaining employee, even outlasting the director's desire to remain in their role. The problem is that even in such case, the director may have an eye they wish to pass their business to. Therefore, no matter how hard you try, you will always play a secondary role within the company. You might attempt to align with the other doomed individuals, forming horizontal connections and becoming a great cardinal within the organization. However, even then, it's unlikely you'll become the director, as a potential heir will closer ties to the current director will likely take precedence. For this reason, instead of climbing the career ladder, many people use their first job to accumulate capital and then start their own company. For this reason, instead of climbing the career ladder, many people use their first job to accumulate capital and then start their own company. And indeed, by starting your own company, you immediately become the boss and reap all the dividends from its growth. Your social status now directly depends on your company's ability to generate profit. The problem is that a pyramid of the ambitious, the doomed, and the favorites operates on the scale of the entire state and its economic system. The role of the ambitious is filled by small, newly established enterprises. The role of doomed is occupied by companies with significant turnover that still cannot compete with monopolies. Finally, the role of the favorites is taken by corporations directly connected to the ruling elites. The pyramid you try so hard to escape is reproduced on a national scale. Now you're competing with other directors for the position of the chief director. The way out of the pyramid lies in a fundamental refusal to participate in the system of the ambitious and the doomed by building a parallel economic, social, or political system which can yield the maximum dividends or so-called super profits. This is the most challenging path, as you will need to independently find a niche with minimal competition and governmental interference. However, it pays off enormously, bringing vast wealth that could eventually elevate you to the ranks of the global elite. The sectors that generate super profits vary from country to country, so identifying them depends on your ability to integrate into them and the competitor's capacity to obstruct you. But that's a topic for the next video. Other questions related to the creation of parallel systems and the structure of society were discussed on Patreon, the link to which you can find in the description. On Patreon, we've already discussed how to stay consistently focused to radically improve your life in all areas. We've also explored the social ladder of the 21st century, which will help everyone save decades of life and make the right career path choice. Subscribe, and let's study only useful and essential information about politics together.